Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock Wednesday
Did
night.
our opening play?
Yeah,
It did? Okay, I didn't see it on my end. Okay, that's cool.
I saw it on mine.
Okay, then that's cool.
Well, you have to ask the oops. Look, they got a new thing now. All the stream can comments show up. Stream an example. Oh well.
I would like that. I like to know what everybody's saying.
There we go. All right, I got them up now, so they should scroll up in that little screen. So,
Excellent.
hey Doc, Jeff, Chris, Bill, thank you for joining us. Always nice to see everybody. So we're kind of doing another week of the bad movie reviews, and this is one. This is actually not only is this a bad movie review. This is one Mary Beth's kind of been pushing.
I
for
did.
A while.
I wanted to do it.
I don't know why. It's
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it either. I don't hate it.
Like I was 12. Look, cut me some slack. I was like 12 in this. 13
all right, I did. All right, yeah, we'll talk about all that. I don't want to get into too much into it before we get into the news. Let's do the news.
Harris Yulin, he played on Deep Space Nine in Duet. He has passed, and this is not sci-fi, but it's our generation. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys has passed. Okay, I have 3 pieces of news for us, and Rizzo, I'd like to hear your opinion on them.
Is this going to be a video that I supposedly had watched?
Probably.
But didn't actually watch.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Rizzo, we need to talk about Doctor Who because nobody knows what the hell's going on in Doctor Who. Like, what is going on in Doctor Who? So, after like 3, so they put Russell T Davies in charge, and he's been telling us, I've got a 3-year plan for Ncuti Gatwa. I've got a 3-year plan for him. And then what happened at the end of season 2? He turned into Billy Piper.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the BBC has this thing about, I don't know, it's just because they're publicly funded and maybe they don't feel they need to like make good content. Like, I don't know. It's like,
no, I don't think that's it.
I don't know what it is because it's like they keep doubling down on bad ideas, and it's not just them. I mean, we've seen Disney do it, and they just they keep. It's like, why do they have to feel they have to keep changing up traditional characters? I don't understand. This is what aggravates me. It's look, we all loved Rose. Jeff, I agree. Rose was great. We all loved Rose.
Oh, yeah, we love Rose. Don't get me wrong. I like Billy Piper. I do like Billy.
Why would you bring? And we don't even know if it was just her face, so we don't know what they're going with. Is it going to be really her, the Doctor, that looks like her? Or
I have no
idea. Just some other kind of silly publicity stunt, and it's going to have nothing to do?
See, that's what I thought. They've done false regenerations before, so that was my first thought. But I don't know. The 3 things that people, and these are the viewers, but the 3 things is, 1, they're mad because Russ Davies introduced a concept by regeneration. I haven't seen it. I'm not sure what that is. 2, they're mad because Ncuti Gatwa had limited screen time in season 1 due to other commitments. If he's the Doctor and he's the main character, shouldn't he be the main?
Yeah, but again, this is the BBC, and we just mess with things.
And the 3rd thing that people are quoting, and this one kind of made me sad, but they accuse Davies of being too heavy-handed with woke. Now, don't get me wrong. The Doctor Who audience is a woke audience. They love some woke stuff. But when you beat someone about the head and shoulders with it, even the wokest of the
that's kind of what my point is. It's not that I have anything against having diverse characters, whether in all ranges, but when you take a traditional character that has been built over decades and then you start changing it to fit this agenda that you have, that you want to push these particular social issues, it's clearly, if you look at all the times they've done it, whether it's Disney doing it, whether it's the BBC doing it, it's always fallen flat. It just doesn't work. Even in Star Wars,
I like woke things.
It's just, I don't understand it. It's like create new characters and new
just make them different, but don't beat it over our head.
But even when they do that, it's not marketable. I don't know. It just seems like you look at like what Disney did. They came up with some superheroes that are more diverse, and those, now whether it was bad writing or had anything to do with the equity and diversity issue, I don't know. I didn't watch it. It really wasn't made for me. So
Bill says, could it be a mouse influence? They apparently are done at Disney, and they're going to start looking for another platform.
I think Bill, you might have some, but if you go through before the BBC made the deal with, and that's like their only connection, I think, is Doctor Who with Disney, right? There are other shows
so right now, yeah.
But the other shows they've done a lot of the same thing. They'll I don't know. It doesn't hit the BBC in their pocket like it does Disney.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe they feel they can get away with more, but it's killing the franchise. It's killed it. Like I said, I stopped watching it when and I had no problem with. I said this before. I had no problem with Jodie Whittaker. I thought she was actually not bad. I thought she was okay.
And I'm probably gonna love Ncuti Gatwa when I have to confess. I'll probably love him when I sit down to watch it.
When they retconned the whole backstory of who the Doctor was. There was no reason to do that other than
that reminds me of 2000 Star Trek 2009. My Spock has a mom and his planet is still in one piece. That they did the same thing with the Doctor. The Doctor is from Gallifrey. Period. And
so at least with Star Trek 2009, they were clear about that this is an alternate timeline.
An alternate timeline. Well, so maybe that's where we're going.
It was a clever. They were trying to be clever way to reboot it and being able to not have to be tied to canon. So in that instance, at least they were trying something. It didn't really work, but at least they were. But that made sense. Let's put it that way. But what they did with the Doctor thing was a mess, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just, it's ultimately all this is going to come down to whether they're making any money. And I don't know when they're going to start seeing the light that, when you look at your demographic, which unfortunately is mostly white males for a lot of these things like Star Wars and stuff, that's where your demographics in, and that's where you're going to need to play to, unfortunately. I'm not saying you can't have diverse characters, but don't change the ones that exist.
Yeah, don't change the established ones.
Yes. Stop messing around with our old stuff.
Let's move on with the news. Am I going to talk about Star Wars? Sure, why not? We're still waiting for Kathleen Kennedy to step down at Lucasfilm. But in the meantime, the debate goes on. Who should replace her? The current thinking is some kind of weird scenario where there's Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni and production head Carrie Beck. They're going to kind of do some I don't know, whatever. But the problem is people now are going, whoa, not Filoni. He's the Ahsoka guy. We want the Andor guy. I don't know, Rizzo. What do you think? What's going to happen there?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Andor was so well done,
so good,
and I don't know how that happened.
Hi, Nick.
In the current Disney environment,
right? Like, how did they pull it off?
Like, Ahsoka wasn't good. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. There was just something about it. It didn't click.
And we didn't like Rosario's. We didn't like the thing they put on Rosario.
Well, I mean,
weird. Her things didn't look right.
Things, but I mean,
yeah, it was weird. She was all chill and mellow. Remember, she was
like, the story was fine. I think it just needed to be tightened up.
Yeah,
I think it just dragged a little bit. Which Andor was so clever
because
you keep watching it, you keep seeing like they had so many little things that were just done. And that was like you say, the chef's kiss.
Yeah.
On these things, you know what I'm saying?
It's still being quoted. Like, it is still being quoted.
Stupid thing they stuck in there that was just like.
Chris, do you guys all know that Alan Smithy is the name they use when they don't want?
Yeah, Alan Smithy. But they don't. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the thing that cracked me up, I saw an article where the Disney was they were like surprised at how popular Andor was. I don't know, because you made something that was
surprised. It was an amazingly smart story that was applicable to our day and age. So yeah.
And God forbid, I'm sorry, I hate to sound like this, but God forbid we had a strong white male character. Oh my God.
Wait, no, he's Diego Luna's Hispanic.
Well, I mean, for the most part, you're right.
So you know what? That whole cast was not white. A lot of not white going on there.
No,
Pedro was white.
Except for all the bad guys.
Was white. But Bix was not white. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of.
No, I mean, there was diversity. Don't get me wrong.
See, that's how you do diversity. I mean, you just say, "Look, here's the main character," and that's it. That's all you do.
It and made it just. We're gonna make Andor female now, just because.
All right, moving on. My last piece of news. Yeah, Rizzo, I want to hear your opinions on this. Strange New Worlds. They posted the episode titles, which is cool. They gave us a new Trek trailer, and yeah, this is probably the one that you haven't seen yet. They gave us a new Trek trailer. We got to see Patton Oswalt as a Vulcan, which is cool. I guess I'm okay with this.
I did see the photo of it.
So he's a self-admitted sci-fi nerd. He appeared as a Klingon-speaking cop in the movie Please Stand By, and he did do that whole Star Wars filibuster in Parks and Rec. Do you guys remember that? The trailer implies Kirk will be taking command. It looks like Pike's girlfriend survived the Gorn thing. Okay, good for her. Ortegas has a brother. And we finally meet Roger Corby. Strange New Worlds is set to premiere on July 17th. Rizzo, what do you think? Are they going to tell us good stories this season, or are they going to carry on with the chaos?
Well, I mean, I'll watch it. I will watch it, but I don't know. I'm going to watch it probably.
Speaking of, we'll watch it. Do you guys want us to do like either the 3-minute review or a 1 minute for me and 1 minute for him type situation where we just give it a quick, or no? Or we won't.
They can decide how they want that to play out, I guess.
Yeah, you guys remember how we used to do those 3-minute reviews?
I mean, I'm not, after that first trailer, I am just not hugely optimistic. I like Patton Oswalt. I can't really see him as a Vulcan, but we'll see what his
he's not going to be very Vulcan-y because he's just jovial, you know?
I think the first TV show I ever saw him in was in Justified with Timothy Oliphant. It was that's a great show. It was a good show, by the way, if you haven't never seen Justified.
Who was in Justified?
It's Timothy Oliphant is the main character. He plays a marshal.
Yeah, I know Timothy. I know who that is.
He plays a marshal, a U.S. marshal.
He played on Boba Fett too, I think. Or
no, he was also in. He was in Mandalorian. He played a marshal in Mandalorian. Okay. He played a marshal in Deadwood.
Oh, did he really? So he already knows Anson Mount. So they're buddies.
No. You're mixing up Hell on Wheels.
Yeah.
A different show. Good show.
Deadwood, Hell on Wheels. It's the Old West. It's all
Deadwood was a better show, but didn't last as long. Anyway, he was just on the show. He had a sort of a not a regular part, but a returning part. We'll play it. And then, of course, you know who else was in that is who's been really good is Walton Coggins. He's been in everything now, but he was the first thing I saw him in.
He's in Fallout, and he was just in White Lotus.
Yeah, he's been in tons, so he's very popular.
Yeah,
right
he's cool. He's a weird looking dude. Yeah, he's all right.
Anyway, we digress.
We digress. Everyone says Bill Sotak.
Everyone says 3 minutes.
Sorry, what am I saying? Bill Sotak.
Yeah, so it sounds like they want the review. Okay, just be aware
Everyone
that
says
there will
3
be
minutes. That's what I'm trying to say. 3 minutes.
We'll put up the spoiler alert thing.
Yes, Jeff. Thank you for reminding me. Cobb Vanth.
But I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'll watch it, but I'm not optimistic.
Well, that's why I wanted to do the 1 minute. What he said, she said. You can have 1 minute to destroy it, and I'll have 1 minute to defend it.
I don't know. I might need more than a minute.
Okay, you get a minute and a half to destroy it. I only need a minute to defend it.
Well, I don't want to necessarily destroy it if I actually like it. I mean, there's a good
possibility. But I definitely feel like they're going to carry on with shenanigans. Like, I don't feel like they're taking this seriously at all.
Stupid episodes. We've had this conversation. I get 10 episodes. Can I have 10 decent, actual Strange New Worlds episodes? Where they actually go to a Strange New World? Are they going to go to a Strange New World, or are we just going to go back to the same old worlds that Kirk was at?
Things are going to be strange on this show, but I can't tell you that they're going to be.
We're just revisiting the '60s because we can't come up with new ideas.
All right. All right, Rizzo. What are we drinking tonight while we talk about this thing?
I found this one. Believe it or not, it's called Krull. I don't think it's
walnut.
It's something Scottish, and it sounds disgusting. Walnut liqueur with walnut up and red wine.
Okay, yes, that does sound disgusting.
I don't know. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the movie.
Walnut liqueur,
it was just coincidence that it had. I think it's Scottish.
I don't know how I feel about this.
So there it is. Try at your own risk. It's probably as bad as
somebody the movie. Try it and report back. I want to know what this is all about. Which red wine? Like, they should tell us which red.
There was. It did have something specific that I didn't recognize. So I just made a red wine.
I wouldn't even know.
Nobody's going to make this. Nobody's going to make this.
No. Nobody's gonna.
I've never even seen walnut liqueur. I don't even know if that's a
nice picture of.
No, it wasn't Scottish. It was Australian.
Oh, Australian. Oh,
yeah.
Australia, man, I'm
Anyway,
side
it's on
eye.
the Facebook
Australia, I'm
page.
side eyeing you because
If you should feel like trying it, knock yourself out. Let us know how bad it is.
report back because. Oh, anyway, so yeah, Strange New World starts on July 17th. That's the okay. Krull, let's do it. Krull.
Okay, 1983. This was a big budget. It was about what 64 million, I think, something
It
like
was
that.
big everything.
It was
They
a
went
big budget
all out. They
movie.
had like
I will say I'm like 95% sure I saw this in the theater.
really?
Yeah, I was
See, I
16.
didn't.
I was 16, so yeah, it would fit. I do remember it. I remember it came out. I remember everybody was like, the thing everybody thought was really cool was the glaive
The glaive.
thing, which to me they underutilized
Oh, grossly
horribly. I
underutilized.
mean, it was like, I think what was stupid about it. First of all, we have to talk about the early '80s was really popular for some reason. Well, I know what the reason was with sword and sorcery movies.
Oh yeah,
And
fantasy
it
was
was
having a
direct.
moment.
It was a direct result of the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So they tried, but nobody really made, and I don't know why, a good sword and sorcery. In fact, I don't think there was a really good, well-made sword and sorcery movie until like the Lord of the Rings. Find me one that was better, that was good, that was actually
Everybody
a really
look
good,
at
well-made
fantasy
movie.
movies of the 80s, and there's many, and tell us
There's
which ones
tons,
were the
but
better ones.
they all were bad.
They were all bad at each in their own little way.
Beastmaster, Deathstalker, they were the problem. You had Conan, you had two Conan movies with Schwarzenegger. I think the problem with them was either if they tried to be serious, they just came off as like this, where like just didn't work.
Yeah.
Or they were just so campy they couldn't take it. Like Deathstalker. Yeah. Deathstalker, there was 4 Deathstalker movies. Like, if you can believe that. And they all were so campy, and just it was just another reason for a woman to take their top off. Clearly, like, it was like very campy movies. So, I don't know what, but I guess they had a certain popularity. But this thing tanked. I mean, it only made like 16 million at US, and I think 16 million overseas.
They tanked.
So it cost, they didn't even nearly make their money back.
No. I mean, they probably have sense, but no, not then.
The interesting thing about this film, and I think what makes it mark, is there's so many people that are in this movie that were nobodies,
right?
And then became somebody. Liam Neeson was one. John Coltrane was another one.
I mean, they kind of have a powerhouse of British actors in the cast.
They had a lot of, but I mean, like, Liam was unknown then. Coltrane was unknown.
Ken Marshall, our hero, he worked so hard. He had just come off of some huge big miniseries, and he was set, like he was ready to go. He was going to be the new action star of, and it just.
Yeah. I mean, this thing, for when it was being shot, it took over Pinewood Studios.
Oh yeah, they had like 23 sound stages going at one point.
They used the big W007 sound stage to do that whole scene.
Yeah.
Which again just looked hacked to me for the amount of money that they put into it. It just didn't look good. It looked like something out of Lost in Space.
Yeah, it really did. So here's the thing. I loved this movie, and I still have a little soft spot in my heart for it. I like it. I see what they're trying. Here's the thing about this movie is this is another one of these box office disasters that has become since a cult classic. And as I was doing the research for tonight, wow, people who hate it really hate it, and the people who love it really, really love it. It's one of those divisive films, but they had this thing set up, the costumes over the top, the casting, like I said, they had kind of a who's who of British actors in there. The sets, they built 23 standing sets. They trained Clydesdales to run on treadmills. They went all out for this. They thought they had a hit on their hands, and when you really think about it, it'll break your heart how bad.
You know why? Here's the thing. I think they went too weird with some of it.
Well, let's talk about.
I think they were trying to. Well, I'm telling you, this we're talking. I think this is where they went wrong. I think their story, they were trying to put too many elements into the story, and none of them really gelled because they were all hit too briefly. For instance, like, I don't know, it was like
here's
you
the
had all
thing.
these different scenes, like the scene with the widow of the web, which you're like, okay, they kind of explained her backstory a little bit, but why was she in the web? We don't know. I guess that was her punishment for killing the baby.
Yeah.
Why the spider though listened to her? I don't know. First of all, I don't like spiders, so that whole scene was not working for me.
It was a beautiful scene. It was well done. I thought the spider was.
It was. I don't know if that was Harryhausen, but whoever it
It
is,
was a Harryhausen apprentice who did that spider. I thought the spider was great.
It was an interesting spider, and it was an interesting spider that it was like crystal, like it was see through, sort of. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was crystal spider. Yeah.
But I mean, there's that, and then they have the part where they're in the like they're going to this whatever emerald something or other, so that the seer could see where the thing is.
The movie was a million side quests.
That whole scene just went, oh, they killed him.
It's like side quest, side quest, side quest, side quest.
Yeah, it just didn't like they didn't flow together properly.
Yeah.
To make it work.
So let's talk about. So the studio told whichever writers, I don't know who, hey guys, let's make kind of a Dungeons and Dragons kind of a movie. And whoever wrote this thing was like, yeah. So they did it. And the studio hated it. And they started making, and it was called The Dragons of Krull. And the studio hated it. And so they, the script needed so much polishing, but then I don't remember, I have it written down in here somewhere. When they gave it to someone else who started rewriting it, and they hated that even more. So they literally, because it was like all dialogue heavy and it was lacking in special effects, they're like, no, let's go back to the Dragons of Krull, and what we'll do is we'll polish this thing as we go. And that's exactly what they did. And so what ends up happening is the internal universe logic was kind of there, but it was introduced like way too late.
But, yeah, the problem. Here's the problem with the movie. Okay, you have this, like you say, this Dungeons and Dragons sort of medieval planet. And then you have these space invaders.
Yeah, it was space
essentially
fantasy.
What they are.
Lasers.
And they land a rock. That's their spaceship.
And the laser people
and then they have lasers against swords. This is what I'm talking about. It was a mess. And it was just okay, these people shouldn't have had any chance against the people with the higher technology.
You would think, but the people with the higher technology were just worms. So I'm gonna give them credit.
No, I know, but it's just this. I mean, this is supposed to be a spacefaring race, and they're going to take over this planet of essentially.
But why would a spacefaring race suddenly be like, "Hey, I want to go marry that random princess on that"?
Because again, planet? This dude's weird. We all know, and that was the other thing. That's what I was getting to. I think when they came to the actual fortress and the beast himself, they got a little too weird.
Yeah, the beast was not good.
It was just too bizarre.
The beast was bad.
And it was like the whole interior, you didn't get a sense of what this thing looked like on the inside, because it was all these weird, like, there's a room that looks like an eye. Okay, why?
Oh yeah, the interior.
Why is there a room that just looks like an eye?
Because all of those sets were built for when they polished the script, and it was all dialogue and so they had built those sets, and then the studio was like, no, we're not using that script. So they literally had to take sets that were already built and force them and make them work into the old Dragons of Krull script.
Yeah, that's
what they did.
There was a lot, you could tell a lot of it was just a mess.
Okay, so I want to talk about the director, and I want to talk about. So yeah, I mean, like Ynira and Lissa's backstory, the Widow of the Web. Finally, you're like, oh wait, here's finally one little, and then no, they don't use it.
Yeah, they don't really. There's nothing there.
Yeah, the castle teleports at sunrise. You might have wanted to tell us about that earlier.
Wouldn't it have made more sense, like if the sun was really
damaged it or something?
No, the sun was. She didn't kill the baby, and the baby turned out to be.
Was the baddie?
No, he was the good guy. Like,
they were gonna make young Lissa the baddie, and then and the actress was excited, and then they decided no, she has to stay pure, and the actress was like, well, that's boring.
She was gonna cave and go with the monster.
Yeah, no, she was gonna cave and go. The fact that Lissa and Chloe needed to be married and they would fight together, and she was water, because remember she reached into the water and he's fire, and he reached into that lava or whatever it was. They probably should have expounded on that a little bit more.
Well, that's another thing. We could talk. That was the other thing I thought was ridiculous. Okay, so he's got to go get this glaive thing that only this other guy knows where it is. He climbs up this mountain forever, it seemed like, which was dragged out. And then he gets there, and I think that whole thing was ridiculous. There it is. It's just a shadow in a lava pool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it should have been like.
crunchy.
more Indiana Jones, like you have to come up with something, just sticking your hand in there.
And then
I'm like, because how did he know he wasn't going to get his hand completely incinerated?
because he's fire and she's water. See, this is all stuff that they should have explained. Like,
yeah,
that's where the script
well,
needed so
I
much
mean,
help.
I guess, but again, why is he fire and she water? Why? I mean, it doesn't. There was
No
no,
one
like,
knows.
there was no.
No one knows because the script writers.
But see,
I don't know.
so they get the thing, and he knocks the rock, the dirt
Yeah,
off or
it's
whatever,
coming
and he
off.
shows,
Yeah.
oh, it's
And
really
there's
cool.
the glaive, and
And
it's
then you don't see it
5 foot glow.
again for another hour.
Yeah.
But
And he
there was
uses
a
it
scene
once.
where he saves what's his name from the web, and he used that to kill the spider. But
Oh yeah,
they
he
cut
was.
it.
Yeah,
They cut it. They didn't use it.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
And here's the thing. And I think the director was Peter Yates. What a weird choice of director. He was known to do realistic, gritty dramas. He had done Bullet and Eyewitness. And he says in interviews, you hear him say, I really wanted to make a character piece. But the characters have no character. Colin, our hero, he only ever just wants to save the girl. That's it. There's no growth. There's no evolution. He just wants to save the girl, save the princess. Princess Peach.
It is that kind of story where it's just, you're not really looking for in-depth.
But there could be a little bit of something going on in there.
It just, remember.
There's other save the girl stories where the characters grow a little more.
This is the time you're looking at. This is 40 years ago.
I know.
In the 80s, they weren't looking for deep, these think about it movies. They wanted an action movie. They wanted something that was going to pull the nerds in, watch this stuff. The kids that were playing D&D. This wasn't made for adults, and it was TV, PG-14 or something. It was rated.
Yeah, it was on TV. But to my dumb 12-year-old self, do you think I criticized? No, I just like, oh, okay.
No, I remember when I watched it the first time in the theater, I guess I probably liked because everybody thought the glaive was so cool.
Yes, Nick. See, Nick agrees with me. My 12-year-old self loved it, and I still love it. I don't know. I kind of get it. Like in my brain, it all kind of makes sense.
Like I said, I don't hate it now. I just don't think it's a very good movie. I didn't hate it then. I probably liked it then, but it quickly fell into obscurity with me. Like
it did. It really did.
Didn't have any staying power.
I'm going to give them credit for trying to be very, very ambitious, but I'm going to give them a failing mark for their script. Their script was a disaster. Bill is saying the composer for Wrath of Khan. Yeah, it was James Horner. True. And if you listen to the music, you can hear Wrath of Khan.
Oh my God, it's all Wrath of Khan.
It's all Wrath
of Khan. That's all you hear is Wrath of Khan.
I'm watching. I know this music. What do I know this music?
It's like he stole everything. He stole everything he had. Yeah. It was total. It's all Wrath of Khan.
The soundtrack, the score, actually, Bill, the score is really not that bad. The score is actually quite good. It has
it's Wrath of Khan
components and all the stuff.
It's pretty much
Wrath of Khan. It's great. It's kind of swashbuckling. It's swashbuckling in some moments, and that's great. And it also kind of works for Wrath of Khan. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's so much like Wrath of Khan. Even as a 16-year-old kid that knew nothing about music, composers.
Yeah, even then
you went to Wrath of Khan. It's the same guy. It's got to be the same guy. It sounds exactly like Wrath of Khan.
Plus, even though it was a disaster, there's a few little moments. Like, admit it, the seer guy, his creepy black eyes, that scared all the 80s kids. Those black eyes were scary. When he had the blind guy and he was
yeah.
That was creepy.
But what do they always say? I've seen memes, and this is pretty true. What one thing that all Gen X is terrified of?
Those black eyes.
No, quicksand.
Yeah, quicksand. And there was quicksand in this movie.
every show when we were growing up, that was the thing we were most afraid of was quicksand. And who knew it's not even really a thing? So.
That's a yeah.
So of course they had quicksand, so they had to have quicksand. And again, it was done just like they did quicksand in the 70s, which I guess it was only not that earlier. So
yeah,
but whether you were watching Land of the Lost quicksand or $6 Million Man's quicksand or this movie quicksand, it all looked the same of basically water with a bunch of vermiculite floating on.
Yeah, it was like. Yeah, it wasn't.
Like they do the same thing for everything. It's the same.
Yeah, and we saw it in Princess Bride. There's quicksand in Princess Bride too. At least that sand is sandy. That is more Sandy's quicksand.
Yeah, I mean, even like Lost in Space, I'm surprised Star Trek didn't have quicksand. Everything was quicksand. No, there was no quicksand in Star Trek.
No, it's quicksand Star Trek.
No. But
was there any quicksand in old Battlestar? like on any of the planets?
I don't think you're not.
They didn't really spend a lot of time on planets, I guess.
No, but like all the kids shows, like the Saturday morning stuff. $6 Million
I bet Scooby Doo had quicksand.
Yeah, it all had there was an episode with quicksand in it. It was like the go-to thing.
Wait, so do you think like Hulk and Wonder Woman and all those like?
I guarantee you, I can't pick out the episode, but I guarantee you they probably did. It was there's like a meme going around that's like Gen X's biggest fear is always quicksand because we
thought it would be a bigger deal.
You're gonna die. Like you didn't go running around in the woods because there could be just some pile of quicksand that you're just gonna fall into. I literally remember as a kid had nightmares about it.
Quicksand?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know like what part of the world. Has naturally occurred. Let's find out because now I want to know what part of the world has naturally.
I don't think it's really. It's not. It is a thing, but it's not like it's portrayed on television. Like you don't walk in it and sink down to your. You know, it's not like that.
No way.
The word quicksand.
Oh, they do. There is quicksand in the United States. Okay, I thought it was like in.
No, I mean it's just, but it's not like it's portrayed on television. It's not as dangerous as they made it out.
Quicksand is usually found in the hollows at mouths of large rivers or along flat stretches of streams or beaches where the pools of water.
Right, where there's water and stuff. Where it'd be obvious, not in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, not in the middle of the woods. Yeah. Yeah, well, the pools of water become filled with sand, but then this underlying layer of stiff clay or something else that stops drainage. So
yeah, it's just anyway. You will find them in the beach. You can be careful because I remember
when you're walking,
sometimes you find a sinkhole, and I guess that would be considered quicksand. But yeah. All right. Anyway, enough about quicksand.
Anyway, moving on with our movie here.
Where were we? I forgot.
I don't know.
I don't know. So yeah, it was a big. It just was a big tank. And they did put a lot of money into it.
They tried. There's so much potential. So much. And the other thing that tanked them is it came out. They wanted it to come out earlier, but because they were trying to finish up special effects, it came out 3 days after Return of the Jedi.
Oh well, there you go.
Spanked them. I mean, just spanked them.
Of course, they're gonna spank them. I mean, that was like.
It feels like so much missed opportunity at every turn, every single step they made.
Well, we've seen this before. A lot of it is. It's just how the things timing and. There's certain things that light up. I don't think whether this was released. It might have made a little bit more money if it didn't have to go up against Jedi. But I don't know. You look at, they're just such different movies, first of all, so you can't really compare them. But I mean, special effects wise, this looks like something the BBC made for Doctor Who.
It looks like made for television. Yeah.
It doesn't look like, because even the scene with the horses, the fire horses, or whatever they call fire mares, which can go what they say 100 leagues,
145 miles. It's how many leagues a day? So someone did the math.
So it's the math is about 3,500 miles. It's 3,500 miles a day, which would be about 150 miles an hour. What I cracked up when I was watching it just recently. And they're, they got this wide shot of this, beautiful landscape, and you see them coming and the fire coming from their hooves. And I'm like, they're setting the whole landscape on fire.
Probably.
Like Forest Fire Central now on Krull.
It was like a field. So yeah, they probably set
they burnt 3,500 miles of whatever.
It's like now there's a burnt trail that you can track them with. Just walk along the burnt trail.
And even that scene was like that whole scene where they were like, it was just like, oh, we're gonna get him in this canyon and then throw a rope around him, and that's it. Like there was no challenge to get these horses. Like the horses were pretty tame after all. Like, oh, you throw a rope around them, we're good. I don't know.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't want to just jump on the back of a wild Clydesdale, but that's just me.
They had to train those Clydesdales to run on treadmills.
Those poor Clydesdales.
I mean, those poor horses.
I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Because Clydesdale, you guys, are not the biggest horse in the world, but they're draft horses.
Then there's the scene when they go over the canyon and the horses just kind of fly over the canyon.
They also
all I kept thinking was, it looks like Santa Claus and his reindeer.
Yeah, it did look like Santa. It did look like Santa. Nick is saying his favorite part of the movie was the glaive. That's everybody's favorite part of the movie. And here's the thing. People have made glaives and chucked them. They're actually shockingly effective. Like, you can wick a glaive and it'll
throwing stars. The Japanese and stuff have had, and Chinese have had that weaponry forever. It's just
they're called stars, ninja stars. Yeah. And you guys all know a glaive is a pole blade. It's it's not a throwing weapon.
Well, on this
why
planet,
did they choose to call it the glaive?
Because it sounded cool, and it's a different planet, so they can get away with it.
But if you were to build your own glaive and then start wicking it around, you would hurt somebody. So
absolutely, it's a throwing star. I mean, we used to get them. We used to buy them in the head shop.
It's a fidget spinner of death.
No, we used to buy real throwing stars at the head shop.
And attach blades to them?
Well, no, they were stars. They were blades, and then they would always be dull. So we'd sharpen. We used to sit there and throw them at trees and stuff. Yeah, it would stick in the tree. We'd throw it at the tree and it'd stick.
Yeah, and it would wick right into the tree.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. Just like throwing an axe. Except it's got lots of little axes.
Yeah, as many axes. So that if the one doesn't go in, the next one will.
So anyway, it was just this particular weapon obviously had some kind of, which again they didn't really explain, some kind of supernatural abilities, because
it was a boomerang.
He could like make it do things.
Just went like that, and it came right back. And then wick it out, and come right back.
So, but that's the thing. We see him get it, and then we don't see it again until the very end of the movie, and he doesn't really utilize it. Because he was going to practice
with it, and the old man, his Obi-Wan Kenobi, was like, no, we don't throw it unless we're ready.
You know when to use it.
Yeah. And I'm like, you don't even get to practice with it?
So apparently he knew to use it on the door or the wall to get into where the Princess Peaches was sitting there.
Yeah.
And then
drill. It was like
that was the other thing I noted. I'm like, the battle between him and the Beast was like, well, that was easy.
Yeah,
like they throw stuff back and forth a little bit, and then he cuts him, and then you think he's dead. Of course, he's not dead. And then they have the fire battle, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It just didn't seem to be very challenging. Like, he never really seemed to be.
Yeah, the Beast himself was not.
The Beast never seemed to get the upper hand, which you think at some of these movies, like it's like, it's not going his way, and then the tide turns. Which the tide never really was on the Beast's side at all. He seemed to always be on his heels, so to speak.
Well, he was on his home turf. Here's the thing.
I'm saying he should. That's right. He should have been had more.
The Blade had consciousness. I didn't know that. Here's the thing. I am going to give this movie credit for one thing, for having different bad henchmen than normal movies. Normal movies just have henchmen. These guys bothered to have henchmen that were actually these worm things, and when they died, they'd glow, and then they'd make that squealy, that noise. And then
they didn't really die. They like dove into the ground and ran away.
Yeah, they would go away. So there's your sequel. They all rise again. But I was like, okay, that's different. At least it's different. At least it was something.
This is the other part that cracked me up, because the legacy or the prophecy was that these two would marry and they would rule the planet, and their son would rule the galaxy. And I'm like, these people are on horses. And they're basically medieval. How are they ruling the galaxy?
Learn how to fly the castle.
The castle's gone, because apparently when the castle blows up, gravity around it goes reversed, because it went up into space. Why, we don't know. I
forgot that the castle blew up.
That was the other thing. I'm like, why is it exploding
and blow up? I mean, just chunks would fly off.
Nothing made sense. So no, they didn't have
that is a great point.
Where did they get this technology that from one generation they went from basically, herding sheep to flying to ruling the galaxy?
And there are sheep herders who saw us land on the moon. So yeah, whatever.
So you're saying there's other people on the planet that are more advanced, and we just
I
didn't
have
see
no
them?
idea. I don't know, but Lissa and her fire boyfriend there better get their acts together because
I don't know. I
don't know
just
how
thought that was kind of silly.
I think they really just wanted a part 2, a sequel is what they really wanted.
Probably.
They
But
were
I just
tremors.
think maybe the planet they were on. This is why I didn't like the combination of the science fiction and this medievalness or this sword and sorcery. I would have rather, if you're going to do a sword and sorcery, just make this guy like Sauron or something, and like was always on the planet and he was taking over the planet, and that was it. He was just on the planet.
Yeah, it's already there.
Came from space crap and no
and
lasers.
Yeah, you're right. And since they had lasers, or
few they put in there because of Star Wars. We got to have lasers.
If I had seen Ken Marshall deflect some lasers with his sword or with the glaive, that might have been fun.
Something, but I'm just saying I didn't like the mix was wrong. I don't think they should have mixed it, and I think that's another thing where they went wrong.
There are very few. So there's fantasy, there's sci-fi, and then there's fantasy. There's very few where they mix, and it's extraordinarily rare where you mix and you have your space fantasy and it works. So rare. And I'm going to put Star Wars as maybe.
Let's see, Star Wars. There's no.
Star Wars, Dune, maybe.
Star Wars is all science. But it's like every planet is essentially. There are people that are farming and stuff, but people all have the same technology.
Guys, give me some examples of
there was another similar movie where there was another thing where there was the advanced people, and like I can't remember the name. Somebody might remember it. I could picture it. So you had like these advanced super science guys, and they're battling basically these like Dungeons and Dragons type barbarian type guy.
Cowboys and Aliens?
No, it was much older. It was around the same time. I don't know. I can't remember. There was something along that line. It didn't work. It was a bad movie.
Dragon Slayer.
No, Dragon Slayer wasn't a bad movie.
Fire and Ice. Oh, Fire and Ice.
Yeah, I don't remember Fire and Ice.
1983.
Maybe.
Sword and the Sorcerer?
Might be. Well, no, I saw that one. That's not good.
The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen? I never liked that.
That's not.
Cauldron,
that's fantasy, but it's not.
Excalibur.
Excalibur was actually based on Arthur legend.
Excalibur was pretty much.
Excalibur was a really good movie, actually. So let's not put that in this category.
Maybe we should do Excalibur.
Excalibur is actually a good movie.
If any of you guys know which one Rizzo's talking about, let me know because I would be very.
I'll see if I can find it. I don't have. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, this is very specific and it's very rare, and they haven't got it right yet.
Nope. Like I said, there's been somebody did mention there were some good ones. Like Dragon Slayer was decent. Lady Hawk was decent, but it really they really fall into the sword and sorcery kind of realm. Not really. Sort of.
Thunder the Barbarian.
Well, that was a good for a
He-Man had a sword, but the sword was magic. It did things. He'd raise it up and say.
That was a cartoon. Well, they did make a live action one. Now, if you want to talk about bad movies, that one was bad. What the hell's his name? He-Man movies was bad. That was bad. It was Dolph Lundgren, wasn't it?
Oh, I didn't know they were Dolph. Oh my god, I didn't.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
They're remaking He-Man, guys. They're trying to make a new He-Man, so maybe it'll be better.
I did hear that they were trying to make it. While Flash Gordon falls in.
Deathstalker?
No, Deathstalker I've seen. Deathstalker is bad, but it has stupid merit because of its silliness.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll ever find it, but
that's right.
Fire and Ice.
I love me a good fantasy movie. I love people running around on horseback.
I don't know. I'll see if I can find it. Beastmaster. There's that Beastmaster. Didn't that actually turn into a TV show?
They might have. I don't know.
Conan.
I'm good. I love Legend. I love Labyrinth. I love me some good
Red Sonja. Again, not
Now they're guessing. Well, Doc's accusing us of trying to use being psychic. Galaxy of Terror. I do not know that one, Nick.
Galaxy of Terror. I don't know if I'll even remember the damn name of the Quest for
Yeah,
Fire.
Nick says Beastmaster was a TV show.
Yeah, they did it. They actually turned it into a TV show. Flash Gordon. No, Flash Gordon. Well, it is fantasy, I suppose.
So many movies. So
anyway, it was more sword and sorcery. I'm going to try to look it up.
Like, because when I was that age, I mean, Neverending Story, Dark Crystal, Princess Bride, like those were in my wheelhouse. Of course, I was a 13-year-old girl, so you're going to have to cut me some slack there, but you know.
What was The Warrior and the Sorceress? Was that the one I'm thinking of? No.
Clash of the Titans with Mark.
Clash of the Titans was based on Greek mythology.
Sorry.
But that was based on Greek mythology. I actually watched that in a college class on mythology.
Really?
Yeah.
They couldn't have been that accurate. Were they accurate?
Well, I mean, it's Greek mythology, so yeah, I think they did follow it pretty closely.
And it was Dame Maggie. Maggie, what's her name? Is
yeah, and what's his name? And Harry Hamlin's in it.
Yeah, Harry Hamlin.
I'm sorry, I'm looking up these Thor. Is it Thor? Mythology.
John is saying Galaxy of Terror was a Roger Corman movie.
Yeah, I don't think it was Galaxy of Terror.
Oh, James Cameron was it?
Wow. It's not really important.
Chris is asking, can you think of the actors' names? That would help us narrow it down.
Nope. I don't think
Chris is guessing Warriors of the Wind.
No.
We'll think. Guys, we'll think of it. We'll let you know.
Yeah, if I come up with it, I'll post. I don't want to waste all the whole.
Oh, too late.
You're the Hunter from the Future. There it is. That's the one. 1983.
What is it called? Who?
Called Yor, Y-O-R, the Hunter from the Future.
You're the Hunter from...
A very, very bad movie.
Oh, good Lord. The picture even looks bad.
Yeah, it's horrible. So it's the same kind of thing where you have like this.
Wait, was it originally American or was it? I think it was originally Italian.
I don't know. I remember seeing it on TV. I don't think
language Italian. So you were watching this with subtitles.
No.
Were your Italian's better than you're letting on, Rizzo?
No, it's not. If it was subtitled. I mean, dubbed.
Dubbed.
So as a kid, are you kidding me? I don't even like watching subtitled movies now. Sure as hell ain't gonna watch one as a child. So anyway, I did find it though. There it was.
All right, everybody, that's your homework. Go watch Yor.
Don't waste your time on it. It's so bad. It's so bad. But see, as a kid, I'd watch all this stuff because again, we had if it was on television, you watched it because you didn't have any other options. You didn't have like all the streaming stuff. You could watch whatever you want. I will say, I will defend Excalibur though. That is an excellent movie, and actually, Patrick Stewart is in that movie. I will mention. I think that was the first thing I ever saw Patrick Stewart in was Excalibur, and I did see that in the theater.
Patrick's got a little more in the sci-fi and fantasy than he likes. Oh, I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Well, I mean, it's Excalibur. It definitely falls into the sword and sorcery, but it's based on actual Arthur legend. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just there's supposed to be the whole Lady of the Lake thing and actually some of it was really great. I mean, the guy that with the way they did the wizard there, what was his name? Sorcerer. The famous one that Arthur had.
Merlin,
thank you. I have to say, the brain's old. So the guy that played Merlin was great. The way they did that. So Excalibur, I mean, we should. I feel that Roy did it.
He might have, but
I think Roy did Excalibur. Yeah.
No harm, no foul.
I'm going to tell you, if you've never seen it, it might be a struggle for you to get through because it's kind of long and it's slow in parts. But it's really well made, and it's a little weird. And it's based on Excalibur, obviously, and Grail lore. his whole search for the Grail.
I'm going to tell you guys a secret about Excalibur. I have no memory of this movie. It was the very, very first film when we got our very first in the 1980s, our very first ever VCR. And now we have this gargantuan VCR, and we would go to the movie video store rental.
Top loader?
Yeah.
You didn't have the really old ones.
Yeah, maybe it was like you still slid it in, but then you pressed it down. Yeah, you had
to push it down. Those are the really old ones.
That's what it was. And so that was the very first movie my father rented. Why he rented it? Because I think it's rated R. I don't know.
It is rated
R.
Why
he rented it, I don't know. We all sit to watch it, and I'm
little.
I
want to say that Excalibur was the first movie I saw in the theater that had boobs in it.
Boobs in it, yeah. And I remember my parents going, "Oh," and like fast forwarding parts because they didn't want us kids to see it.
I went with a friend of mine and his brother, and his brother was significantly older than him. So I just remember the three of us went and saw it, but I think I was.
So you know what? Now I
had to be at least 16, 17 by then.
And watch this thing and wonder what the hell was wrong with my parents. They were not right. They were not right.
Yeah, I don't think I couldn't. No, that wouldn't have been anything my father wouldn't have rented.
Oh, my father.
Here's the thing. Since we're on this topic,
my dad loved
this was my dad. Okay,
but they didn't want me seeing sex scenes.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. If there was, but here, this is how it always worked in our house, especially when we got our first VCR. You'd rent the movie, right? It was a big deal to rent the movie, and we rent whatever movie it was, and he would be in his recliner. And we'd sit up, they're always on the floor or wherever. And he's watching the movie and he falls asleep every time. Falls asleep. And then he'd wake up like an hour into the movie. And he'd go, "Oh, what's happening? Wait a minute." And he picks up the remote and he rewinds the movie for a freak. And we're all like, "Why? No, we don't want to."
Seriously, your dad, what the hell?
That was my dad. He's like, "Hey,
John is saying life force
technology. He grew up with radio, so what the hell?"
Well, yeah, I know. My dad.
Life Force was the first exposure patch. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was in Life Force. Another very weird movie.
Yeah. Chris LaRoche always reminds me of my dad, oddly enough, because Chris will know The Shadow. Chris will know The Green Hornet. All that stuff. My dad loved that stuff and would listen.
See, my father never, he never did sci-fi, so that was never his thing.
Oh, my father is the one who got me into Star Trek, and Star Wars.
My father was big into NASA and all that, the real stuff. He would always make sure that, we built the Saturn V model, the Revell model there and everything. But yeah, science fiction. He, like I said, I think I made him go see a couple of the old because he would be the one that always took us. And he took me to Buck Rogers. I remember I wanted to see Buck Rogers in the theater. He took me to see that. And I don't know what his opinion of it was. And then I was probably just almost barely on because there was a lot of sexual innuendo in the original Buck Rogers. A lot of
yeah, but most that goes kids' heads, right?
No, I was still just at that age where we were interested, but we didn't want to let our parents know that we were interested. What else did like I said, I think it was Captain Nemo's Mysterious Island. I remember that was definitely a Harry house. Yeah. So yeah.
John keeps saying good dad. My dad or Rizzo's dad? It was my dad, yes. My dad, because you know why? It was bribery.
My dad was he is what it was. He didn't discourage watching science fiction. Like he didn't say, "Why are you watching that stupid crap?" or whatever. It wasn't.
My dad loved it.
It just wasn't his thing.
My dad would do all that with me
either. So
we'd go outside at night and watch for UFOs. We never saw any
comedies. His thing was like comedies and stuff. He'd used to love like Barney Miller and stuff. Remember those old TV shows.
But for my dad, it was bribery because they were bribing me to do something else that I didn't want to do. So my reward is I got to stay up and watch Star Trek or Doctor Who.
That episode of Buck Rogers was great because of Aaron Gray was super hot in that episode. That's why. So just since we're all being adolescent boys again. Anyway, look at some 5-0. So I don't know whether we start wrapping up Krull here because we got way off topic. Sure, John. My dad was just horrible. Be like that.
John, ask me someday. I'll tell you my dad. It'll get me crying. I'll tell you the time my dad visited the set tour. If you guys feel like making me cry for no apparent reason, just in the middle of an event, ask me about my dad visiting the set tour.
Oh, he came up there, yeah.
Oh yeah, he went up. Did you not? You did. Oh, you met my mother, Rizzo.
I've never met either of your parents.
You have met my mother. She came up with me one time, and you've met her.
Okay, I remember. I think I saw her on like a Zoom call once. Yeah, maybe I do kind. Yeah,
because now she's old and doesn't know anything. So if I'm at her house and I'm doing this, she'll just like.
Yeah, my mother wouldn't.
But no, I brought her to the set tour. But I brought my parents to the set tour.
That's cool. I'm sure my dad would have. My dad would have appreciated it had he seen it. Had he ever come up to see it, I'm sure he would have. I mean, he was aware of Star Trek. Wasn't like he. I think he would have just been impressed with what was built. The engineering behind it is kind of what my dad was an engineer, so that's what.
I would tell my dad we're going to go film Star Trek, and my dad and my mother and my father thought, because this was like 10, 11, 12 years ago when I first started doing this, and they were both still alive because he's gone now. They thought I was like in somebody's basement and they had like the JVC handy cam, and we were, you know what I mean? Like,
it was a little bit past that.
It was a little bit more than that.
Not
we
much.
got to show it to him.
Yeah, I had a lot.
When
I first started doing
those people hate me.
When I first started doing New Voyage stuff and trying to explain to people that no, it is not actually going to be on television. Like, it's not Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not
TV show. It's just people making.
It's just been on YouTube.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, they didn't like what? Well, how? And it was the same reaction I had when I first heard about it. I'm like, well, how are you doing that without? Getting in trouble.
Don't get in trouble. Yeah.
So anyway.
All right.
Getting back to Krull.
Oh, Krull. Back to Krull. Oh, we've been gone off for like half an hour now.
It's almost 8:00. Krull. It always reminds me. It seems like that's the stuff that old people have. That little crusty stuff that's always in the corner of their mouth.
The Krull. They got the Krull.
Krull. Get the Krull out of your mouth. Scratch that out.
No. Krull was just, they tried so hard. There was so much potential, and it just fell. They ADR'd Lissa, the chick that played Lissa. She was British, and for some reason they were like,
yeah. Why did they? I was wondering. They did the same thing to and it must have been because of his accent. They did the same thing to Coltrane.
Did they really?
They dubbed Robbie. They dubbed Robbie's voiceover for some reason. This was like one of the first things. Now, you guys know who Robbie Coltrane is. You ever seen Nuns on the Run?
Have you seen Hagrid?
Yeah, Hagrid. Again, there's another one. I mean, I'm just saying, you want to see where he, and of course, he was in one of my favorite movies we had talked about, which was Let It Ride. He was the guy, taking the bets. Great acting job on that one. So, yeah. So, but for some reason, I think this might have been one of his first movies, and yeah, they dubbed his voiceover. I don't know why.
Not the very first, but yeah, he had a little tiny bit part in some other movie, maybe Flash Gordon or something. I don't know. J.J. Abrams has talked for a long time about remaking Krull, but he has since gone quiet on the project. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Why would they revisit this mess?
I think they should. I think it deserves a remake. I think it needs a more sensible script with more organized, like, lay all the internal logic out first, the laws of the universe, and go.
Why?
Because it deserves it. It was a good idea that just didn't come to fruition.
No, I don't think it deserves it. I think it does.
I think it was ambitious. I think they tried real hard. Ken Marshall almost got killed by the floor.
There's a lot of projects that fall into that category that have fallen flat that did not deserve being rebooted.
I think Krull deserves another shot.
First of all, I think the first few movies of this ilk, I don't think have returned. They are like the bell-bottom pants of movies. They really haven't, like, I know sometimes these fashions come back briefly, but
they come back.
The zoot suit or whatever you want to call it.
And zoot suit riot.
It just none of those movies, like I said, were fun. Like I'll still watch Conan the Barbarian sometimes if it's on.
See, that doesn't need a remake.
That they tried to remake several times, and I think they could make a really good Conan, because I used to read those books to see, at least those had a platform. Like if you were a kid, I was reading those Conan books. They were great.
Yeah.
I love those things. They're all
It was,
sort of,
again, 13-year-old
hack and
girl.
slash, and they fit into the D&D world perfectly. So if you're into D&D, which I wasn't like in junior high and high school, that I was that kid. So yeah, I like that stuff. And I used to watch all these movies. I used to watch them when they were on TV because there was, again, it was on TV.
Yeah.
Something to watch.
I have a little short list here of movies. If you guys want us to do this in July or August, and I'm calling it Untouchable or Needs a Reboot. And I have a list of movies, and I want to know. I think we should do an episode on this. I think, are these movies untouchable? We should just leave them alone, or are they deserving of a reboot? They should get another try.
You mean movies that were popular, or movies that stunk? Like
oh no, the all over the board. I've got all one-off movies that only have the one. Do we need more? Are they, do they deserve more? Are they untouchable? Are they perfection? Are they perfection that should not be messed with?
Well, there's definitely a lot of movies that fall into that category. We know that.
Ambitious and should be looked at again.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Well, we should look into that. But it is 8:00.
Okay,
and
8:00.
Speaking of movies that should never be redone because it is.
Let me do Roy and Phil super fast here because I know what we're doing. Roy, on Friday the 13th, he's celebrating not Friday the 13th, but Father's Day, which is coming up in this weekend. Yeah. So he's going to look at famous fathers in sci-fi. That'll be fun. Phil, what are you doing? Bill, who's 90 years old, went to the UN to interview protesters. So Phil's going to be doing that. He pre-recorded a bunch of interviews. So that's going to be tomorrow at noon on the Politics Show, and at 4 p.m. on Captain Phil's Planet. He says he'll just play a bunch of music. So, and I'm sure he has the Friday night freeform. So check out Phil. Okay,
Martin, I've been saying we should do Sleeper. Martin was just saying
Sleeper.
Sleeper was this Woody Allen movie. It's actually it's my favorite Woody Allen movie. Which probably because it's just sort of science.
Is it a sci-fi Woody Allen movie?
Yeah. It's he wakes up. He's just some guy who got frozen in like the 70s or whatever, and he wakes up like, I don't know, like 100 years in the future. They wake him up, but of course society is like, it's like very fascist in a lot of ways and stuff, but it's all of course science, and they're after him because he's considered a loose, like I forgot how they worded it, but basically he's
loose cannon,
like a loose, because he's not yet be controlled. And anyway,
all right, what are we doing?
It's this comedy. It's supposed to be funny, it's Woody Allen. So, but speaking of movies, as I'll start again, that we should not be touched. It is the 50th anniversary of Jaws next week. So we are going to, even though we did Jaws once, we're doing Jaws again because it's worth it. It's worth doing it again.
Since we're doing it again
Jaws for the 50th anniversary of Jaws.
Yes, and we will celebrate the 50th.
Summer of 1975, you did not go in the water, and that included swimming pools.
It did.
I remember swimming in my aunt and uncle had a cottage on a lake in upstate New York near Oneonta, and I remember I was scared to go in the lake water because. Even though there's no sharks in lakes, but at least not in New York. Anyway, so that's what we'll be doing. And then the week after that, we'll be into Shatner weekend. So we are going to take that Wednesday off.
Are we definitely taking that Wednesday off? Okay, that's good. That's helpful.
Yeah, I think we should just take it.
Because this Shatner weekend actually kicks off on Thursday. So I might actually.
Are we going up? No, we're going up on Thursday, though. I'm not going up.
You're going on Thursday. I might go up Wednesday. I haven't quite decided yet.
I don't have.
So I'm gonna write Jaws. Wait, what day did Jaws actually come out?
It had to be a Friday. All right, I'm
gonna write Jaws for next week. I'm gonna write Jaws Part 2.
It was the actual date is the 19th or the 20th, I think, was the.
Oh, so next week's the 18th. So that works out.
That's why I picked it.
Okay. And then I'm gonna write
I'm not that random.
Okay. Well, sometimes you are. I'm gonna write no show for the 25th, and then I will see you all on the 26th. Okay.
Yeah, for another Bill weekend with all kinds of extra people. It's going to be like, it's really more of a Trek Conderoga than it is a Bill.
It is almost Trek Conderoga. And I just got wind of someone else who's coming today. So unbelievable cast of thousands.
It's going to be a lot of people there.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So, All right. On that note, we will say good night. Live long and prosper. And
I
as
saw that,
always,
Bill. I saw
may the
Shatner and
force be with you.
Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Late Show.
Good night.